Welcome to Analog Schtick, a PlayStation 2 podcast, the podcast where normally every month we do a deep dive on one PS2 game and we cover the game's development history, discuss its legacy, as well as share our thoughts and opinions on the game through a modern lens. But this is our first bonus episode. We are going to be discussing all of the games that we have talked about throughout the year, minus the entirety of the PlayStation 2 launch lineup.
Because it's so stanky?
Because it's too stanky and we didn't really play them. I didn't want to have how many were there? 30?
I thought there was 41.
We would have had a 50 game list then.
Yeah.
If that was the case, which would have been too much. So yeah, in this bonus episode, we're going to be ranking every game that we've played so far for the podcast, minus the launch lineup. I am joined by Morgan, my host, my co-host.
No, I am the host here.
You're the host. I mean, I always say, I don't know if you're supposed to introduce yourself as a co-host. That always sounded weird to me. In different iterations of the introduction spiel, I've said, I am your co-host Clayton, and I am joined by my co-host Morgan. But that sounded weird to me.
Yeah.
So I said host Clayton, co-host Morgan.
Yeah.
Although the presence of a co-host, I feel implies that there is no host. There is only co-hosts.
You could just say, I'm Clayton here with my co-host, Morgan. Because then it's just inferred that we are both co-hosts. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I need to rework the intro.
I want a raise. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So, both Morgan and I have come to this episode with a list of our top 12 games that we've discussed over the course of this year. The way that we're going to do it is we're each going to give out our individual lists, and we will discuss the games, I guess, as we talk about them. I will predict Morgan's top 3, and Morgan will predict my top 3.
Are we going to predict each other's top 3 first? Because as we run through our list,
I was gonna say
we're going to reveal what the top 3 is.
Right. Maybe that wouldn't make sense to discuss first. I was going to do it when we got there, but having written them down beforehand, reveal what we thought the top 3 was going to be, even if it included games that had already been talked about. But yeah, let's do it first before we get into each list.
And then do we want to reveal whether or not that was correct? Or do we want to go through our lists and sort of be oh, you might have gotten it right?
Yeah, I think we leave it a mystery.
Okay.
But we'll say it to get it in writing now, whether or not I was right.
Okay.
So yeah, we're each going to talk about our lists, and then we're going to use a point scoring system to combine our 2 lists into one list that will be the canonical list of the greatest PlayStation 2 games of all time, slowly expanding as we discuss more games.
Yes.
All right, so Morgan, you're going to give your list first, and I will share what I predict your top 3 to be.
Okay.
Starting with number 3, I predict ATV Off-Road Fury. I'm not going to look at your face. I don't want to see your reaction.
Okay.
And number 2, I predict Haunting Ground.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, I predict Jak and Daxter.
Okay.
That is my prediction.
Okay.
We shall see as we get into your list how accurate that is.
All right. So just for starters, I will say I think we both had slightly different approaches for our lists. Mine is sort of a mix of being objective and subjective, but leaning towards objective. Whereas I feel like you said that you were more subjective.
I definitely was.
Okay.
So yeah, what were your objective criteria then? Polish?
Yes.
Focus?
Yeah.
Stuff like that?
Yeah, polish had a lot to do with it. Sort of okay, what do I think this game was setting out to do? And how well did it accomplish that? And sort of did I think it had good game design at the center of it? And so that's sort of how I tried to do my ranking. And I will say that story had some influence too. Did I think the story was good or handled well or whatever? So yeah. But like I said, I tried to be more objective than subjective with mine.
Were you giving any leniency to for instance, design principles that were more accepted during this time? Or were you coming at it from a modern perspective?
I think, I don't really know.
Because we have some games that struggle to hold up.
Yeah.
Usually for controls. and I wonder if that impacted the
I think
ranking.
Yeah, so when I was ranking them, I was trying to like compare the games to each other as PS2 games. Like I wasn't trying to hold them up against like anything modern.
Okay.
So, but I'm sure like my opinions about modern games like definitely influenced this. Like I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine for sure. My list is definitely like, here's what I think is like enjoyable today.
Okay.
Still.
Gotcha. Which I think, yeah, ultimately mine, the ones that were my favorites were the ones I still found enjoyable to play in the modern day or whatever. Because we can't escape that we're in the modern day. You can't outrun time.
It's true.
Anyway. So, all that being said, do you want me to give my number 12?
Number 12.
All right. Burger King foot lettuce.
Yes.
So, at the bottom of my list, stinky last place is Oni. I think...
Yeah, I saw this coming.
Yeah. Oni's writing was all over the place. The level design was really lackluster. The level geometry was mostly symmetrical. The textures were blah. The combat system was really ambitious. But it was a freaking nightmare. Just to like try and get through fights. Even with cheats enabled, it was still a pain in the ass to
Oh yeah, I forgot
do
that
anything.
you had cheats
I
enabled
did,
for
and
that.
it's still it was still not a fun. Even when you're the most overpowered thing in the room, you still can't have fun. That's terrible. It was just not fun. I would not recommend this. The art direction between like the inconsistencies in like the character portraits between cutscenes and like the game UI, just anything you could imagine to like nitpick in a game. This game goobered it. So that's why it's at the bottom of my list.
Number 11.
Yes, so my number 11, Tulip. Yeah.
What an upset!
I know.
Oh no!
I debated on this one. This one was like, I think the hardest thing to place because it's like, here's the thing. Is it at the bottom of my list? Yes. Would I recommend that you play it? Also, yes, somehow.
What?
I don't know. I don't know. Just because if you were to play it as the developers intended, you would have a god-awful time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you would.
The prerequisites to enjoy playing this game are you have to find that GameFAQ guide, the game FAQ, whatever, GameFAQs, whatever.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever wrote that. I think we gave them a shout out.
We did in the episode. You have to find that guide. And you have to have an emulator with save states because otherwise it's just pure bullshit. The puzzles are bullshit. I love the art direction. I love the character and like the love put into this game. I love it for that. But the actual like design of the game and primarily just like the puzzles, they don't make any sense. It's nonsensical. So that's why it's ranked so low. But like I said, under those specific conditions, I would 100% recommend this game because it's so cute and so fun.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, to the emulation point, you kind of have to play it through emulation.
That too.
Save states, for that reason. But also, you can't buy this game for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
It's an extremely rare PlayStation 2 game.
All right. Moving on to number 10. Call of Duty.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think this is a surprise.
Expected.
Yeah. It had some good-ish moments, but also the checkpoint sort of system, especially with the tank missions, the sheer like I said, that one mission where it's like, you have to hold this thing for 10 minutes. And it's like, you're really going to make me sit here and do a shooting gallery for 10 minutes. Okay. Just stuff like that where it needed some polish.
It's one of those games that's very hard to go back to, as we mentioned before.
Yeah.
Control-wise, it does not hold up.
And just like the feel of it's very clunky.
That's the main thing, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, it has some good moments. There were some moments like in the intro where I was like really impressed with like the atmosphere that they had going on. That was pretty good.
It kind of, I mean, I feel like early Call of Duty games have like a really nice atmosphere, and this game kind of gets there.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of has that like fun World War II vibe.
Yeah, you know how fun World War II was? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that's why that one is pretty low on the list. Number 9,
Number 9.
ATV Off-Road Fury was all the way down. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't know you at all.
So all of my nostalgia is for ATV Off-Road Fury 2, not the first one. Does have a bumpin' soundtrack. However, you can play only like one course of this game, like one race course, and you pretty much have the gist of the whole game.
Okay.
And like graphically speaking, it's okay, but not like, I don't think it's all that impressive. Well, you're looking at me.
This is fucked.
What?
Oh my God.
What?
We're about to have like a mirrored list, and it's just going to be all even. Like everything on the list is just going to be equal.
Oh no. That's so funny. But yeah, and like also it's like, would I recommend this game to somebody? I don't know. I mean, like, it's only going to keep you entertained for like maybe a couple hours, like 2 to 4 hours at the max, I think. So
I am so shocked. I had this at number 3 for
know,
you, and you have it all the way down here at 9.
Anyway, moving on from that, at number 8, I have Scalar. Scalar had a lot of character, and I appreciated that. I think a lot of the like level design and just like the sheer amount of like vibrant like stuff they were able to fit on the screen at one time was like impressive. But I had complaints about like the combat. The combat's frustrating. There's like, it lacks like some polish there, especially with like the hitboxes and stuff that make it really frustrating. And like by the end of the game, the combat's just like, I wanted to rip my hair out. I was like save state scumming, that sort of thing. And like the final boss, terrible.
Right, yeah.
The ending, like the story just feels like really half-assed and like awkward.
Yeah, it had that whole like weird like alternate ending.
Yeah.
That was like kind of difficult to get, I remember. And also like, it's so strange that this game decided to go like an alternate ending.
Right.
I don't know.
But some of like the platforming stuff was genuinely fun. And I did like that part. So that's why it's ranked so high-ish. Kind of. It's not that high. Anyway, so moving on to number 7. This is where I stuck Harry Potter. And is it Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone? I don't remember. Sorcerer's Stone. So my thing with this one was I sort of was like going back and forth of like between Scalar and Harry Potter. I felt sort of like the same level of like appreciation with both of them. Harry Potter ranks higher just because I liked the dungeons in Harry Potter, like the dungeon design in Harry Potter more than I liked the stuff that Scalar had going on. The reason why it's not ranked higher is because the combat was janky. It made me mad in the final boss.
Very simplistic and finicky.
Yeah. And Scalar and Harry Potter both suffer from the same thing, which is a shitty final boss. Just an obnoxious boss fight. So that's why they're both like sort of in the same area. But Harry Potter had a lot of charm, and I had a decent amount of fun playing it. And I liked it. So
I got a question for you. Are we at the point where what is the point on your list? Because I assume we've passed it, where you're like, these games are good now. Like, where's the line of demarcation between bad and good, do you think?
Maybe 8-ish. If I could rate them with colors, 12 through 9 would be like, hold on, if I could rate through colors, sorry, 12 and 11 would be red, stanky.
Stanky.
9 and 8 would be like orange. Like, you could try it.
Orange, very appropriate for ATV. Dusty.
Yeah. 7, 6, and 5 would be like yellow, and then 4 to 1 would be like more of a green. 4 would be lime, sort of like an in between yellow green, and then the top 3 would be green. Would be like, play these.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So number 6, I have SSX. Even though my experience with this game was not great, just because my emulator was bugging out and like making my character model disappear and stuff, this game, like, it knew what it wanted to be, and it just did it. Like, there wasn't, it's like, is this my favorite type of game? No. But also, was it a good type, or was it a good instance of this type of game? Yes.
It's actually rated extremely highly on Metacritic.
Okay.
It's one of the highest rated Metacritic games we have. I think that's mostly due to the fact that it was a very early PS2 game.
Okay.
Kind of lumped into the launch lineup, although I do believe it released a couple days after the launch of the PS2.
Okay.
But I think that early like next gen 3D thing is what sold a lot of people, and the fact that it was like decent.
Okay.
So
then on to number 5, SSX Tricky. I don't think it's that surprising that they're right next to each other, because Tricky basically just polishes SSX. So there you go. I don't really have much to explain there.
SSX but better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 4 is TMNT.
All right.
Yeah. So I stuck this at number 4 because I genuinely had fun. Well, I have a lot of nostalgia. This is where it's like, yeah, I was a little subjective about it, because, I mean, is SSX a better snowboarding game than TMNT is a platformer? Maybe.
Better turtle game.
Yeah, that's true.
Turtle type game.
But you know what? I just like it. I don't know. I like the platforming. I like the setting. It makes me feel like, yeah, I'm a turtle and I'm climbing around buildings in New York City, and that's all I really want from a turtle game, okay? And like the combat, it's not that deep, but like it's fun to me. So here we are. I don't know. That was like a big like nostalgia one, I think. So that might like be kind of strange compared to the rest of my list. Anyway, all right, we're number 3.
So we're in the top three now.
All right, my number 3 is Nightfire.
Yep. I was debating putting that as your number 3.
Yeah.
I would have had a very accurate list if that was the case.
The thing I like about Nightfire is it has I didn't like the vehicle sections. But the James Bond gameplay, like the not vehicle gameplay, I liked a lot and I had fun with it. Whether that was playing stealthy or playing like it was Doom with the shotgun, I had fun either way. I liked the gadgets and how they added, like, it has to me sort of like a replayability value, because there's like depth to the gameplay that we didn't really experience the first time that could be sort of like fun to like experiment with in a second playthrough. So that's why that is rated so highly. At my number 2 is Jack and Daxter. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just really well polished. Like the level design, the visuals and everything are super impressive. You know, the fact that it doesn't have any like load screens or anything like that. There is a lot to collect, a lot to do. Platforming is fun. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like, I know we had like some complaints about it, but compared to like the other stuff we've played, it seems really not so bad.
I want to go back to maybe listen to that episode again at some point, because in my head we were very negative.
Yeah.
Like we were focusing on our critiques of the game and not really focusing enough on
praising
anything that we were praise about the game. So
yeah.
But obviously we both really like this game.
Right. Yeah.
Especially compared to like the other games we've discussed.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, and also, like I said, I do have some nostalgia for that game. Out of the like Jack and Daxter trilogy, the first one is my favorite.
I think most people share that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty
fun.
big departure from like first game to the second game. It's like
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has whimsy, and I like some whimsy. That being said, number 1, Haunting Ground. No whimsy. Yeah. No whimsy there.
Ain't got no whimsy.
Just serious and upsetting. And this game gave me nightmares. It had a psychological effect on me, both as a child and an adult.
So number 1.
Yeah. This game has been, it went into my brain when I watched that Let's Play as a child, and it never left it. It just, and as soon as we were like discussing doing this podcast, this was the game where it's like, I have to discuss this game. I have to bring this up. I have to experience it again as an adult, and like, you know, a great psychosexual, psychological sort of thing going on with like the writing and the way it's presented to you. The design of like the castle is really cool. I don't know. I just liked it. I liked it a lot, and it was really fun to talk about and discuss.
Yeah.
So that's why that is at my number 1.
I wanted to compare that game a lot to Resident Evil while playing it, but we're currently going through Resident Evil 4 right now, and that will be the next episode if you're listening to this as it releases. And the sort of vibe of these two Capcom horror games is, I think, very different because there's such a high level of cheese in Resident Evil 4 that's not there with this game. Like, this game is serious. And there's some parts that maybe are just like a little over the top, but that's the most you could say. It tries to keep it very like scary the entire time.
Yeah.
Whereas RE4 kind of turns into an action game.
Right.
So,
and I think it captures that sort of like desperate survival sort of feeling.
Yeah.
Well, not that RE4 also doesn't do that in some ways. They do it. They just do it in different ways.
Very different ways. This one's like a it's like running. You're running from your
exactly, and you don't really have a choice. Yeah.
Whereas in RE4, it's like you're scrambling to kill the thing that's coming at you. So
right, and also like I said in like that episode itself, the moment where like this is the game that also, well, I know I mentioned the nightmares, but it like emotionally affected me the most, like especially the moment where like Fiona connects with like Huey and like the first cutscene with the music box soundtrack, and that actually made me like, I'm gonna tear up. Like it like hit me like pretty hard, and like I don't know. I think it's really impressive for its era.
Yeah, that is producing emotions that Resident Evil is frankly incapable of producing because of the amount of cheese that they toy around with.
Exactly.
Can you imagine getting teared up in RE4?
No.
Like, oh, Leon found his little dog.
Yeah, no.
Leon walks up, he's like, hey there, dog.
Right.
Hey there.
Hey, it's that dog from before.
Hey, it's that dog. What a good boy.
Where did he come from?
Oh my God.
Bingo?
Bingo.
Yeah.
It's my dog, Bingo.
Yeah. All right. So that being said, do you want me to give you what I think your top 3 is?
Yes. Hit me with what you predict my top 3 to be.
All right. So number 3, I have Haunting Ground. And number 2, I have Jak and Daxter. And then number 1, I have SSX Tricky. So we will see how you go from there. I don't know.
Yes, we'll get into how accurate or inaccurate that list is.
Okay.
As I work my way through. So I'll start with my number 12. Oni. So we both have Oni. Or number 12.
Wah.
This game, I think it just radiates potential, unachieved potential. Like everything about this game had me so excited going into it. Aside from the fact that I've heard people talk about this, but no one talk about it in like a necessarily like, oh my God, you got to play this. This is like a PS2 hidden gem sort of thing. It's just like, hey, remember that time Bungie made this PS2 game before Halo? I wanted it to be good. The aesthetic, having like a Ghost in the Shell type like action brawler shooter sounds like it could be so good.
Especially since, sorry, Ghost in the Shell kicks ass. Just saying. Anyway.
Yeah. And it's just like that kind of time period of anime. I'm not a big anime fan or anything, but like this sort of time period of anime I just find very enticing from a visual perspective.
Yeah.
So very disappointed that it didn't net out. It just comes off so generic, and it's like fighting game-esque combat system is very cool, but it doesn't really work.
No.
It's not super satisfying. So that's number 12. Number 11, I have Call of Duty Finest Hour. I hated this game.
Okay.
Mostly because I was very excited to get into the early console Call of Duty, like the World War II, everything before Call of Duty 4 era, because Call of Duty 2, the Treyarch one, or no, the Infinity Ward one, was like my entry into Call of Duty, but also like first-person shooters, and I just remembered it so fondly. that I expected the first game to be decent at the very least, but it was very far off from that. Yeah, just not very difficult to go back to. The sort of clunky aiming mechanics. I think a big issue with that, like we discussed in the episode, was like the lack of, there was no like gradient to your reticle aiming. Like it was just like you're always moving too slowly or too quickly to like properly aim at anything, and aim assist just like wasn't helping you. So number 11, disliked. For me, this is where the list gets into like the green of like, or like the good spectrum. So Call of Duty and Oni I think are bad, and everything past this I think is some degree of good, playable, whatever. So number 10, I have Scalar.
Okay.
It's it's a lizard platformer. What can I say? I wasn't really vibing with the whole like everything's a lizard. You're in lizard world now.
Yeah.
That wasn't really for me personally. I do think that like it executed its lizard aesthetic fairly well, but I just didn't vibe with it that much. The platforming was fine enough. There was a lot of these forced combat arenas, which were kind of lame, and story was a bit like just didn't work, So going up, number 9, I had SSX, the first SSX.
Really?
Yep. I don't know if it's because I have both SSX and SSX Tricky in my head, but like I do remember not liking the first game, finding it just kind of half baked, and like, and again, it probably is like an influence of playing the later games first and then coming back to this one where they were still trying to figure out what SSX is. But I just don't really see the need for SSX. We have SSX Tricky,
Yeah.
We don't need this. Going on to number 8, I got TMNT. I kind of came around on it in like the post podcast capturing footage time. It's a very decent like action platformer with a big emphasis on, brawling. It's just too simplified. Like, I feel like if they just had like a couple more like fighting mechanics, like combat mechanics, and maybe like a couple more platforming, I don't know, abilities or something, the game just felt too samey to me for its runtime. But at the same time, I do think it was decent. And I think the speed running potential of that game is actually enjoyable. And it is kind of at the forefront of that game with the clock that it gives you and stuff like that. So it's like a time trial based game, which is fun. I like stuff like that. So putting that at number 8, TMNT. Number 7 for me is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I find it very whimsical, but flawed. I do think I think that TMNT is probably more refined, but does less things. And I think Harry Potter does just a little bit more, and I don't know, exploring the castle and stuff like that, like just was enjoyable enough for me to like, I don't know, get me through. It's, I don't know, 8 hours? Yeah.
Yeah.
The castle exploration was like the main thing for me, even though it was like a lot of very samey corridors and stuff like that. It just like, it captured the atmosphere that I think I want Harry Potter games to capture, which is like this kind of whimsical, I'm a little kid, this is a magical world of stuff I don't really understand or get yet. A lot of problems, stealth being probably the biggest, but it was conquerable.
Yes.
I guess.
That's true.
Number 6, got Big Daddy Tulip up here.
Oh.
When I was writing this list, I'll be honest, I did come at it from the mindset of what's the highest I can reasonably get away with putting Tulip before I'm just
lying to yourself.
Lying to myself. I figured number 7 was good. So it's about like, what is this, the midway point of the list? No, this is 6. So it's like just above the midway of the list. It's just so unique and clearly sets out to be a frustrating, irritating, annoying experience and exceeds at that in such an amazing way. It doesn't do it by accident. It's clearly intentionally a frustrating time, and I love it. It's like the whole time it's like you as the player, you're like banging your head against the wall trying to get some stupid mechanic to work out or something. And the game is like laughing at you with its aesthetic, like it's sort of like wacky aesthetic and like terrible soundtrack. It's like a cappella thing that it's got going on. It's just ingrained in my head. It's living rent free up there. It's just this terrible, frustrating experience that I had. And I feel like that's what it wanted to do. So
this pitch that you've given for Tulip also makes me wish that I had maybe ranked it a little higher. So you're bringing me around to your view.
Hey, I don't know. Like, part of the reason that I wanted to do like a ranking was to kind of, it'll be like a hey, if you're watching this and you didn't watch this thing that we discussed because you had no interest in it at the time or whatever, based on the title or whatever, just go do the Tulip thing. Go watch the Tulip thing. Go experience this game.
Go learn about that. Yeah.
It's insane. It's a Japanese kissing simulator.
Right.
For God's sakes. You gotta see what that is. So that's my number 6, Tulip. ATV Off-Road Fury, I have at number 5.
Okay.
I find all the ATV games to be very enjoyable despite being very samey and perhaps making the previous entry irrelevant in a similar way to like SSX and SSX Tricky. I imagine whenever the time comes to cover 2, it's just going to be like, yeah, why wouldn't you play 2 as opposed to like, why would you play 1 over 2? But I think that it was a fun time. Also, I just like, I'm trying to think, was this the first game I played after my wrist surgery or the last game I played before my wrist surgery? I feel like that had something to do with my ranking because it was either like the last game I played for a while, so I was thinking about it for a while, or the first game I played after not being able to play video games for a long time. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to play video games again. So either one of those could have influenced my ranking of this. ATV Off-Road Fury, number 5. At number 4, I have Nightfire. And Morgan, you may be thinking, wow, I've nailed Clayton's top 3. And we'll get to that. But Nightfire, I think probably, I don't want to say the most underrated game we've covered, but it's a very accessible game if you're buying physical PlayStation 2 games still. And it does a lot of things really well. It feels like a prototype for the modern day Call of Duty formula where you're constantly jumping from location to location, and like it's got like a mix of like vehicle levels and stuff in there. The pacing of the vehicle stuff gets a little iffy, but I feel like it had the right idea of like, we're going to break up stuff, like break up the game, the gunplay, the standard like stealth and shooting stuff with a variety of like bombastic vehicle levels, which is, I think it had the right idea. And it executes most of that pretty well. Again, go listen to the Nightfire episode if you want to hear more. So that's number 4. Number 3, I have Haunting Ground, which Morgan may have guessed.
I did.
I see this as a very, very solid horror game that covers themes that I don't think are discussed in many other horror games. Granted, not like a huge participant in the horror genre, so very limited frame of reference for that, but it's really like interesting and scary themes that it's discussing throughout the whole game, and it's like a very like closed and like focused story. There's only like a handful of characters, and it's very tight, so big fan of that. So number 3, Haunting Ground. Number 2, I have Jak and Daxter.
Oh my God. I read you like a book.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, just a very solid platformer. Animation-wise, really incredible. Like, a lot of things that game does hold up today from, like, a visual perspective and stuff. Like, if they made that game today and it was just like a up-resed sort of thing where they cleaned up the textures and all that, it would probably look pretty close to a modern-day release. Like, it's very graphically impressive. The animation work is super like fun and fluid and very bouncy. A lot to like about it. Yeah. Don't listen to that episode. No, maybe, I don't know. I feel like the Venn diagram of people who have listened to that episode and will listen to this episode is probably just as a big circle eating a little circle. So you probably already have listened to it. And number 1, I have SSX Tricky because this game is so god dang good. I come back to it so frequently. It's a game that I will just boot up on occasion and just jump through a track, go into like the show off mode and stuff like that. It's got problems, but it's got such a fun style and everything from like the characters to the soundtrack. I love it. It's so fun. It's like a fun blast of dopamine and nostalgia right into my brain every time I boot it up. It's very approachable. I think I would recommend it to, and also it just speaks volumes in my mind to like the era of the PlayStation 2. This feels like if I were to make some sort of collage of like iconic and seminal PS2 games / characters, I would have to put like some SSX Tricky representation on there. I don't know which character makes the most sense. Maybe Elise. I don't know. But yeah, highly recommend. It's a very fun, arcadey snowboarding game. And that is my list. So,
all right.
I see we have some ties.
We do have, we have 2 sets of ties.
Do we want to work from the bottom up? And then like as we get to ties, we can discuss them?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Which one's the lowest here? Oni.
Oni. So yeah, coming in at number 12 for the combined list, Oni, which both of us had at our lowest spot on our individual lists. So
yep.
That one's pretty cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Oni at 12. And then what is 11?
All right. Let's look for the next.
What is our next?
Number 5, the Call of Duty.
Call of Duty Finest
5.
Hour. Yep. That makes sense. We both had it. I had it at 11. You had it at 10.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. I think our next lowest is Scalar. Is that correct?
Scalar coming in at number 10.
All right. Then at number 9, we have Tulip with 9 points.
That's a goddamn shame.
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, yeah. SSX.
Yeah. Oops. I
SSX at number 8.
God.
All right. So now we have our first tie. We have ATV and Harry Potter both at 12 points.
Okay. So we rated Harry Potter at the same place, whereas ATV Off-Road Fury, I had it lower, you had it higher.
Oh, I see.
How do we settle this? How do we...
What? So I ranked this... So I had ATV higher than Harry Potter, and you had Harry Potter higher than ATV.
Yes.
I guess we'll speak for the merits of each game, and then come to a consensus on which game is better.
Okay.
So from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
ATV sets out to do less things. It succeeds at those things
Mm-hmm.
rather than setting out to do a lot of things and not succeeding. So it had it had a tighter focus is basically what I'm saying. And it did well at that. It's also very dusty. There's not a lot of dust happening in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You know?
But did it have the charm of going to Hogwarts, though?
I mean...
I don't know. I don't know
I'll
how to quantify that.
I could... I think for this list, I think I might concede the Harry Potter. Like, these two games, I think the charm is a better argument than the, like...
If you were handed copies of these games...
Which one would I want to play?
Never played them before.
Oh,
which
never played them
one?
before.
Which one would you spend more time playing and have more fun while doing it?
Or, like, what we would recommend to someone?
Yeah. I think
Like,
I would recommend
someone who
Harry
hasn't
Potter over ATV, but that's just...
You know, maybe I would too. Like, if someone hasn't played, if we're, you know... But also, like, ATV, you could pick up and set down, too.
That's true.
Like, it's a very pop-in, pop-out thing. I think I'm gonna concede and stick ATV below it.
Okay.
All right. So Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, number 6. ATV Off-Road Fury, number 7.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What is next?
Number 5 looks like that is TMNT.
TMNT. Yep. I think that's appropriately high.
Yeah. That doesn't feel like, hey, how the heck did that get up there?
Yeah.
Although I did kind of shit on Tulip, and I still feel a little bad about that.
I mean, like, I think that your reasoning for ranking it where you did is sound.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like, I think it's the fact that it's so unique that it really gets me for that reason. But yeah.
Right. So it looks like Nightfire is at number 4.
Nightfire at number 4.
Yeah.
I think that that's good. I'm glad that that's like above half at the very least.
Yeah.
I don't think that it had any chance of being super low. We both had it pretty high. What'd you have it at?
I had
3?
it at 3, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I had it at 4, so makes sense.
And then SSX Tricky at number 3.
SSX Tricky. And then we have a tie for first place.
Yep. Jack and Daxter and Haunting Jack and
Haunting
Daxter.
Browns.
Yeah. Jack and Daxter and Haunting Grounds both got 22 points. We both rated Jack and Daxter at number 2. And I rated Haunting Ground at number 1, and that was your number 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do we... I don't like this. I don't like
hard.
deciding between these two. Also, first of all, probably the most disparate game that it could be.
I was just going to say, they're at opposite ends of the spectrum. You have friendly, colorful child platformer game. Oh, wait, let's have fun. Let's have some comedy and some like flouncy animations. Then you have Haunting Ground, who it's like you are constantly being ogled and at the threat of being impregnated against your will. There's no happiness. There's no safe place.
I will say that the through line between these two games is the breast size.
Yeah, there are some big badonkers.
Yes, in both games, the children's game and the horror game.
Yeah.
Which is funny. The two highest games on our list. The games. Yeah, okay.
All right. So, all right.
I don't know, because this is really, I think it speaks to the PS2 library that, like, this is kind of like these two games. It's like both ends of the spectrum for its kind of vast library that appeals to a lot of different demographics.
Uh-huh. Oh, man. I did not see this coming. I did not foresee this being an issue.
Yeah.
All right. I have an idea. So you know how in our podcast, we always sort of break them out into like the story, the campaign, the mechanics, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What sort of categories would you like to break these games down into? And then within those categories, which one did better? And whoever does best in the most categories gets number 1. Does that make sense?
If we could do...
Please make it an odd number of categories so that we don't tie again.
That's weird, though. Yeah, that's weird, though, because if we do mechanics, campaign, aesthetics, Jack and Daxter wins mechanics. Because that's kind of the point of the game. And then Haunting Ground wins
story,
campaign, story.
Yeah.
And then we're deciding between the aesthetics.
But hey, you can't compare that, though, because they're so different.
I know.
Like, they're both
very good.
Yeah, they're so good at what they're trying to do.
This is rough.
I
don't know if I'm trying to just like think through the things that I like in my head, but I don't know if I lean either way necessarily.
I mean, I obviously do, because I put Haunted Ground over Jack and Daxter, and you didn't.
I did too, but they were right next to each other on my list.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, you put Jack and Daxter over Haunting Ground. Right?
Right.
Okay.
We both had them right next to each other.
Right.
So I guess by that logic, I should be advocating for Jack and Daxter, and you should be advocating for Haunting Ground.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I like both.
I was going to say, so the reason why Haunting Ground is my number 1 is because to me, like I said, the emotional impact, which is so rare for a PS2 game to have, was like really up there, like with the story, and I thought the aesthetics were just that good. So it didn't really rank necessarily because of the gameplay. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess, and thinking about it, thinking about it more, I think I do lean Jack and Daxter, but like the Haunting Ground thing, it's like, honestly, if I was going to go back and play one of these games, I'd probably dive back into Haunting Ground.
Yeah, I would do the same. You play through, I 100% of Jack and Daxter, and after you 100% it, even like your reward for 100%ing it it's not that great. Or it's like, I don't know. And Haunting Ground has the advantage of, because of the randomness of the stalkers and their behavior and your encounters, every time you play, it's going to be a little bit different of an experience.
Mm-hmm. I can't tell if Haunting Ground would be more or less enjoyable for if you get really good at Haunting Grounds, are you able to abuse the game?
Jack and Daxter speedruns are nuts. Like, technically speaking, you have to be precise. It's like one of the hardest things to do. And there's a guy, his name is, I think it's Outrageous Josh, is like the king of Jack and Daxter, and he's insane.
Mm-hmm. Haunting Ground also has some speedrun stuff. I mean,
okay, I haven't checked that out.
It's got like alternate paths and stuff like that, like the guide that I was following. Mm-hmm. There's some stuff that you can just skip if you know what to do.
Okay.
So there is like some, and it also has the multiple endings thing.
Oh, yeah.
That really fast ending that you can get with.
Right, you can escape early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or not with Huey, with oh man, what was his name? Develitas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, all right.
This is hard.
I know. Out of like this is me advocating for my top pick, but the cast of characters in Haunting Ground was, well, at least Fiona, Huey, Develitas, and Daniela were really strong. And like Daniela was really fascinating as a character.
Okay, here's an argument that I think we could maybe consider that would help us.
Okay.
So on the PS2 library, this is a list. This is what will be hopefully a decently long list of PS2 games, all ranked. Jack and Daxter platformer, Haunting Ground a horror game. Mm-hmm. How does Haunting Ground compare to other horror games on the PS2 library, and do we see it towards like the upper echelon? And same with Jack and Daxter. Compared to other platformers, do we see Jack and Daxter above like a lot of other platformers? So
I think as far as platforming goes, I do know that I like the platforming and the sort of like gameplay and stuff in like Sly 1 better than I do in Jack and Daxter.
I think I do too.
As far as Haunting Ground compared to other horror games, now I have not played a ton, but the amount of like tension and like freakouts I had when playing Haunting Ground was, I would say, on par with or higher than when I played the remaster of the first Resident Evil on my Switch, because I played a decent chunk of that, and that's like, the classic Resident Evil, right? Classic survival horror. And I don't know, like Resident Evil, when I was playing that, as far as like being spooked by a horror game, had the benefit of I am armed and I know where the zombies are, because they kind of just like stay in the same spots, right? Whereas Haunting Ground, it's like I'm defenseless and I do not know when he's going to show up. the guys that are out to get me, makes you very paranoid all the time, stressing out. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it did give me literal nightmares, both as a child and a grown-ass woman.
Every time I think I got it down, I'm like, okay, I think that I'm leaning this way now. I just like think of something else.
Okay.
Like the Haunting Grounds thing, it's like I love, characters, story, the narrative that it tells. But then it's like, I did get frustrated a bit.
Yeah.
Like, quite a lot.
I didn't even beat it.
I didn't beat it either.
I didn't get, dang it.
That was whenever we were rushing before your wedding, though.
That's true. Whereas like I said, Jack and Daxter, I did 100%. But I was doing that. Here's the thing. I 100% of Jack and Daxter just for the platinum trophy. I wasn't doing that because I was having the time of my life.
I know. I think there's a lot of platformers that would rank above. A lot of mascot platformers on the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
Action platformers included that I would rank above. But would I? I don't know, actually.
I would, with no
I
hesitation, rank Sly 1 above the first Jak and Daxter.
I think I would too. And I think I would do the same for Ratchet and Clank series. Yeah, I think I lean Haunting Ground
Okay.
for number 1.
Okay.
Let's call it
All right.
Haunting Ground number 1.
Alrighty. Fiona, you did it.
You've won.
Yeah, you've won our little podcast prize for all of your suffering and losing your parents and being stalked and harassed and all of that. You get a gold star, girl.
Let's go through the list one more time
All right.
and then end the episode. So, to close out the episode, here is our combined list, the official list of the greatest PlayStation 2 games of all time that we have covered. Starting at number 12, we have Oni, big old fat stinker at number 12 there.
Yeah.
Number 11, we have Call of Duty Finest Hour. At number 10, we have Scalar. At number 9, we have Tulip. Number 8, we have SSX. At number 7, we have ATV Off-Road Fury. At number 6, we have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. At number 5, we have TMNT. At number 4, we have James Bond, 007 Nightfire. At number 3, we have... I'm losing my voice. At number 3, we have SSX Tricky. At number 2, we have Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. And number 1, we have Haunting Ground. And that is our list. How do you feel about this list, Morgan? I feel pretty good about this.
Yeah. I think it's like definitely a good balance of like our opinions. Mm-hmm. It worked out really well, aside from, agonizing over the ties.
Yeah, the top 2 were tough.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a way I don't think there's a way, mathematically speaking, we could have avoided this happening.
Like 2 people providing, we just had them flipped, like was the thing.
Yeah.
So like.
That's true.
That was difficult.
Yeah.
Or we had Jak at the same place. And then, yeah. I don't know if there is with 2 people. We could have flipped a coin if it came down to it. I probably would have been happy either way.
Yeah.
But I feel good about this list. I feel like it's very representative of, we're going to form like this nice little representative list of the PS2. And hopefully, I like Haunting Ground at the top because it's like this hidden gem type game.
Cult classic.
Hopefully
Yeah,
cult classic. Not a lot of people have experienced. I'm thinking of the games that we're playing this coming year, though, and I don't, because I guess we'll do another ranking after we finish all those, and there's a lot of bangers we're covering, so
and will we?
I guess we'll add to this list.
Yeah, I was gonna say, will we add them and then do like a? Oh, we should probably.
I don't know how we're doing it yet.
Okay, I was gonna say
I don't know how we're doing it yet.
If you want to do like the adding thing again, we should probably make like an Excel spreadsheet to do the adding and like the numbers and everything for us.
Yeah, we should.
Because that's gonna get terrible.
It's gonna get messy.
Yeah.
So stick around for that. Thank you for listening to this episode, our bonus episode. Thank you for listening to the podcast in general. If you found any of the games that we've discussed interesting, go back and check out that episode. Please leave a review or a rating on whatever platform you listen on. Helps the show. Subscribe or follow. All that stuff. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
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 Goodbye.